Welcome to another episode of BHP Book Club. I am your host, Kelly Morgan. Today I'm sitting down and speaking with author Dorothea Gordon on her book, When Life Has Other Plans, Discover the Hidden Gifts. She is a transformational coach. She's a wonderful speaker, a great storyteller, and I'm so glad that she has chosen to be our newest book club member and come on the podcast. So let's just get right to it. Welcome our newest book club member, author Dorothea L Gordon. Dorothea, thank you so much for being the newest member of the book club and for coming on the podcast. How are you?
I'm very well, and thank you for having me.
I am so excited that you're here to talk about your book and your writing journey. And, you know, this whole podcast is dedicated to authors. And so I love to talk to people to find out, like, how did this all happen? So before we get into the book, how did this book become a book?
Well, it was based on people telling me what a wonderful storyteller I was. And I used to tell personal stories in presentations and workshops I got. And somebody said, you know, you should put that in a book. This would be very enriching. And I finally took it seriously in November, actually almost to the day, 2 years ago. And I finished the book within 4 months. It just flowed and it was easy and it was most enjoyable. And then COVID hit. So that interfered a bit with the marketing. But the writing journey was great. I really was able to put a sense of humor in it and to soften all the hardships that I'm describing. So it was, I never had writer's block. I had eagerness states where I would get up at 4 a.m. and just type away. It just flowed. It was beautiful.
Did you self-publish your book?
Yes, I did, because my husband is a poet and he has published a number of books on Amazon. And so he directed me and it was quite easy. So
you had somebody that could show you the ropes.
Absolutely. I was very fortunate. And then I had volunteer readers. I had a sister who helped me with the editing and all that technical stuff. So it was just really a wonderful experience. Well, it was handed to me on a silver platter.
Well, you know what? Sometimes life just works out that way. So you have to take it as it comes, right?
Yes, and it's about time that life worked out that way.
So, and that's what we like. So tell us about the book. Tell everybody the name of the book and then tell us about the book.
Yeah. The book's called When Life Has Other Plans, ... And then the subtitle is Discover the Hidden Gifts. So the book could be looked at as an adventure story because there's lots of material in there that is like an adventure. It goes halfway around the globe. It starts in Bavaria, where I'm from. Then it goes to Texas. Then it goes to Colorado. Then it goes to Mexico. Then it goes to Canada. And from there to Costa Rica. So all of these places have had a major influence on this book. And it was interesting with regard to Texas that I had a pen pal there and she invited me to come and visit her. And it just opened my my perspective, and I learned to see how people live in other countries. So the book itself tells my true story about someone who had certain plans that were going to unfold, and then they didn't. That's it was. I went to Boulder, Colorado, to study English and horseback riding, Western riding, and tennis and things like that. But it was a game changer in that I then went down to Mexico because I was a student of foreign languages and I was also studying Spanish, and I was going to improve my Spanish, and instead I ran into 3 guys from Victoria, British Columbia, and I, to make a long story short, married one of them. So that was the thing that really moved my life into a completely different direction. I was at that time high school teacher for foreign languages. I got a job, but then in Victoria. But things didn't work out all that way. The marriage started to crumble. I had a child who was special needs. And I got involved in spiritual things such as Past Life Regressions, and that put me into energy healing modalities. And it was just one thing after another that happened. And for the longest time, I didn't know why it was happening to me until I started to gradually wake up and say, why is this happening? What am I doing? Who am I being? And then I realized that it had a lot to do with my thinking, with my upbringing, with the kind of values I had, and the people I hung out with, and that wasn't all conducive to my well-being. So as I gradually woke up, and that is shown in the book, things started to get better. And in the end, I took training as a DreamBuilder coach, and am now, and then I really learned what you need to do in order to make a life that is peaceful and satisfying and makes you happy. So this life journey is what I describe in the book, with many different chapters. And at the end of every chapter, I put down the gift that I finally saw, that experience, that event, that painful challenge was giving me.
I think everybody at one time has felt that they don't know what they're doing, right? Or what they're supposed to be doing. Because sometimes when you look at life, you're like, okay, there's got to be more than just, going to school, right? Getting an education, getting a job, get married, have a family. That's it.
Yeah.
And there's got to be a lot more to that. But I think you also have to be kind of open to that, because it's going to happen to you regardless. But you can receive all the information, but then a lot of times I don't think we know what to do with it.
Exactly. Yeah. And people stumble around. And I was in the same boat. I tried to figure things out myself, but I realized that there were angels around me, and I call them winged angels from the other side. And then there were angels without wings, people in my acquaintance that would just show up and help me and then disappear. So yeah, trying to figure out what you're supposed to do in life is not that easy. And finding your life purpose, or my life purpose, was quite a process. And what I realized was that whenever I was veering off my path, which was to be of service to others, life would come up with a bonk on the head that said, no, you're not going in that direction. You go back on your path, and we'll help you. And once I went back on that path that I had somehow decided a long time ago, then things were just going click, 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 click. And this is what I now noticed, that I'm, on my track. I found my life's purpose, that that life can be easy.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's funny that you say your life's purpose and being service of others, because I really feel like that is my life purpose as well. I think that's all of our purpose, is to help one another. Oh, just think how the world would be if we all just helped one another.
Yeah. And that's basically what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be a change agent. And that's why I wrote that book, to show people, yes, you can be in the thick of things, but if you are willing to listen to your heart, then that's where the wisdom is.
Yeah.
And that's why my book is heart. It comes from my heart, and it speaks to other people's hearts. And that's the feedback I always get. It's not for intellectuals. It's for people who live by the heart.
So you had talked about energy, and you went on this spiritual journey. What was that like? Like, what made you go down that path? What first took you there?
Well, do we have time? It's a story, but I studied handwriting analysis because as a high school teacher, it was helpful in those days to be able to assess your students at the beginning of the school year, to see what kind of needs they had, what their strengths were, their weaknesses, and so on. But I also put an ad in the paper to say, I am available for personality assessments, and contact me. And I was contacted by a university student who had a project that wanted to prove that there is life before life. And I said, well, I'm not familiar with that. How can I, what can I do? And he said, we need to do past life regressions. And I had never heard of that. This is all just so new. I'd landed on a new planet. And so we regressed people into past lives, and they gave us handwriting samples with their eyes closed, lying there writing. And then I would look at them and ask them, describe your character, and then they would describe it, and I would see in the writing that they were having those character traits at the same time. Then they went into another life, and then they had different character traits, and it also showed up in the writing. And I thought, how are these people doing that? It's not coming from the brain that they have now. It comes from a different kind of a previous brain. It was such a life-opening and changing thing for me to see, without doubt, that these people had written that, and that there was truth to that. So we did a TV show that was well received. And then the woman who was doing the regressions was also an energy healer. So she said, I think that you have capabilities in that direction. Why don't you take my course? So I took her course, and within 6 months of doing that, I met the mother of one of my son's friends, and she said that she had a lump in her breast that was cancerous and had to be removed. And I said, oh, great, I can help you, and you come to me and I balance your energy, and then you'll have an easier operation and so on. Well, she didn't believe very much in it, but she said, yeah, I'll come. So she came, I worked on her for an hour and a half with my energy balancing techniques. And then she went to the hospital the next morning, and then she phoned me and she said, well, they sent me home. She said, when I was on the gurney already, I touched my breast to say goodbye to it, to the lump. I couldn't feel it. The nurse couldn't feel it. The surgeon couldn't feel it, who said, go home. We can't cut out what's not there. And so that was quite a life-changing experience. Again, I had one thing after another. And when I phoned my teacher and said, what happened here? She said, well, it's the universe's way to tell you that you have to stop doubting, that they want to work through you and with you, and you wanted to be a doctor, but no, you're not going to be a regular doctor. You're going to be one that uses regenerative, non-invasive methods to heal people. And the other thing is that people need to know that often the kinds of thoughts that they entertain, the kind of beliefs that they have a very detrimental effect on their health. And this is something that I'm doing now, educating people by telling them, watch what you think, obsess about the good things in your life, not the things that are going wrong, and experience the gratitude that is so easy to find in the fact that you're still walking, you're still breathing, you still, have a roof over your head, and all the little things that you can be grateful about. And that then creates chemicals in your body that are conducive to healing.
Yeah, I would absolutely 100% believe that. I think when you start, what do they say? Thoughts are things,
absolutely.
Right? Thoughts are things. Energy. And their energy, and the more energy that you put behind a thought, it begins to manifest into this real world.
Absolutely.
Right? And I don't think people really make that correlation, because some people just have a hard time believing it, right? They just have a hard time believing that they can manifest, that they can change their thoughts, that how they speak to themselves matters.
Absolutely.
Right? And I don't think people believe that. But and sometimes it's just, you have to just have, to me, that's where the faith comes in. You just have to believe that if you think good thoughts, that good things will happen. Because if you think bad thoughts, then bad things will probably happen.
Well, you attract the energy that you send out. If you send out negative energy or have negative self-talk, that's what you attract more of. And until people understand that dynamic, it's very hard for them to see that they are actually the creator of their own life experiences. So as a transformational coach now, that is what I speak about in my book, as well as in, I have a Wise Women's Circle. I teach a course, Introduction to dream building, because building a life and building a dream is very much based on your beliefs, the way that you see yourself. And what I'm working on is empowering people. People do not feel empowered because they constantly hear negative stuff, and they watch, CNN, and that's what's called constantly negative news. And, it just fills them with terror, and there is no chance for them to have any sense of empowerment, that they can do anything about that. They are so dependent on what others tell them that they forget that who they are and what really they can do for themselves. And it starts with their thoughts. Change your thoughts, read positive books, and see how little by little, all of a sudden your life improves. I
agree. I stopped watching the news a long time ago. Just because it just didn't make me feel good.
Yeah.
Right. So now I find myself not really watching TV that much.
Yes.
Because a lot of what's on just doesn't do anything for me.
Exactly.
Right. So I find myself doing other things. And at first I thought I would miss TV. But you know what, Dorothea, I really don't miss it. I mean, there are some things that I still watch, but I'm very selective about what I tend to watch movies than I do television. Right? They just happen to be on television. So when I first started my spiritual journey, that was one of the things that somebody told me: stop watching television. I'm like, oh, that sounds horrible.
Yes.
And then I realized that I actually don't really miss it that much.
Yeah. I call it practicing emotional hygiene. And it starts with being careful what you put into your mind. And I have become so sensitive, I can't even watch movies anymore where people are being put down, or where there is unfairness and injustice. All this stuff is just so on a low energy frequency that my system doesn't tolerate it anymore. So I go for something that's uplifting, whether it's books or good stories or good movies. So that's really something that makes a difference. And I do not watch TV either. I have no subscription to anything. I use my computer and I put that on my screen, and it's mostly stuff that is positive and uplifts me. And as soon as I notice there's something, when my inner guide says yucky, I turn it off.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way. If it doesn't make me feel good, then I lose interest and I don't watch it anymore. I try to find something else to watch.
And that might bring me back to my book, that it's a feel-good book. It may sound like it's tragic, but it's not. There's lots of humor in it, lots of fun stuff, and people have told me that it's best not to start reading it at night because they can't put it down to the wee hours of the morning, and that they've read it several times. Some people laugh, some people cry, but in almost every feedback I've had, it was, your book really touched me and it uplifted me. And that's exactly the purpose I had in mind when I wrote it.
So talk to me about being a transformational coach. I think some people think it's hard to transform. And it's not going to happen overnight, right? So a lot of us are very impatient about this transformation. Yes. So how does that work? How do you help somebody, get the patience to actually take the time to transform?
I don't try and persuade people anymore. I wait for them to be ready. After life has beaten them about so many times, they say, well, I'm tired of suffering. I want to do something about it. And then what we do is we look at their passions, their assets, their core values, the skills that they have, these kinds of things. And then we say, okay, what is it that you really want to achieve with the transformation? What are you looking for? Are you looking for a purpose in life, or just a new perspective? And then we go about putting together what's called a vision. And in that vision, people get clear what they want. Some want peace of mind, others want a big house, others want a good relationship, and others want good health. So we work on that. And then we don't focus so much on how we get there, but what it is that we really want. And the latest research has proven that there is an energy field out there which hears us. And, some call it God, others the infinite intelligence and so on. But there is an energy out there that has our back. And when we know that we can turn to that energy, then we get more faith. But it's the faith that these people need to acquire. And I always tell them, after you've gained clarity of what you really would love to see happening in your life, you need to commit. Don't say, well, first I have to have the money, then I have to have the spouse, then I have to have time, and so on. No, say, I want to have a very happy relationship with a man or a woman, and I'm committed to doing that. And then the universe can say, okay, you want somebody who adores you, somebody who admires you, somebody who, is kind to you, and so on. Let me see what I can find. But unless you know what you want, the universe won't give you. If you just say, well, I want someone nice. Well, what's in there? But if you're specific, the universe provides. And if I may just mention something from my book, like I acquired my husband through the process of dream building. And I don't know, maybe I'm going off the subject here a bit, but it was also transformational in the sense that when I went on Match.com, I put myself up as someone who was very likable, and you can't get a better wife or woman than me, and so on. I sold myself to them, and I got nothing but weirdos. When I finally decided, oh no, this isn't working, and said, well, this is what I want, somebody who's intelligent, has a sense of humor, is kind to people and animals, and so on. When I put that in, and I said, don't apply unless this, is important in your life, that's when that man that I'm now married to was able to show up. So yes, it was a transformational process that took a long time. Some people, it's usually about 3 months. And that's what people commit to, 3 months, and then they start seeing the difference. But it's almost like, you have to turn yourself inside out. You have to see life from different perspectives. You have to create paradigm shifts. I can help, but the person has to be committed to themselves to go through that experience of, oh my gosh, this is scary. I don't know what's going to happen next. I'm dealing with the unknown. But once they step out on the other side, they say, oh my gosh, how could I have lived any other way than I'm living now after the transformation? So it's very, very rewarding for me. And it's exactly what I've come into this incarnation for, to be a change maker and to be of assistance.
And I think that's fantastic. I too think too, when people, as you say, wake up or start to transform and become who they're really meant to be, you find out that you have to lose some people along the way too, don't you?
Oh yes, you have to lose not just some people, but also some of the things that were dear to you that you thought you couldn't live without, whether that's TV or overeating or stuff like that. You need to be able to then look at yourself in the mirror and say, yeah, I'm proud of who you are. And the other interesting thing is that when we commit to this path, to this transformation of being of service to ourselves first and to others second, that the universe kicks in. And Eckhart Tolle, who's one of my favorite spiritual teachers and sages, says that if a course of action is in alignment with what the universe wants, it will be empowered. And if it's not just all about yourself, but also to the benefit of others, it's just amazing the synchronicities that happen and the helpful people you meet and the helpful events. This is what my life is all about. And I just sometimes think I'm going to levitate because this is one thing after another. It used to be that it was one bad thing after another. And now that I have made that transformation, all of a sudden the universe just says, I'm using you, or we're using you, and this is next. And it's easy. It's easy. I still get bonks on the head, as I said, if I fall off my path, or I need to. Sometimes I meet people who are difficult, and then I say, okay, what's this all about? And then I have compassion for them. I have compassion for myself. And then I look at them from a different angle, not you meanie or you difficult person, but I think I need to learn something from that person. And then, I can integrate them into my life. Not that they will ever become good friends, but it's something that reminds me that I still need to work on. So I'm not a finished, model. I'm still a work in progress.
I don't think any of us are finished, right? I think we can all strive to do better and to try to be better. I really like the topic of the book, because these things that you're saying are not hard things, right? No. They are challenging maybe, but not hard. And I think a lot of what stops people is fear. And fear is an illusion, because a lot of times when you're afraid to do something and then you actually do it, you're like, oh, this wasn't nearly as bad as I made it out to be.
Yeah.
Right?
Fears are actually there in order to keep us the same. They don't want us to get involved in something where we could get embarrassed or fail or make our life a mess. So the fear comes in and says, don't do that. And I look at fears, I still have them, like weeds. They are always there. But if you let them overgrow you, then you get lost in them. But if you say, okay, I hear you, and up until now I've listened to you, but from now on I'm in charge. I want to do what is important for me now. I'm willing to take risks. I may fall on my face, and it's okay to have failures. If you know of Oprah, she was kicked out of television because she wasn't suitable. Walt Disney was dismissed from his newspaper job because he wasn't creative enough, and Spielberg had to apply to 3 different film schools until they let him in. So there have been lots of people who had failures and they were not discouraged enough, and look at how we have benefited from their courage.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, anytime you're doing anything, be it writing a book or whatever, you're going to hear no's. There are going to be naysayers, and that's okay. And you have to, because you have to believe in what you are doing before you can expect somebody else to believe it, right?
Yeah, and you don't have to please everyone. Yeah. I know that some people are, think my stuff is a bunch of hocus pocus and not worth reading, and others think it's made such a difference in their lives. So I just want to write to those people who are on that path, and who can benefit from it, and say, if she could do it, then I can do it too. And that's all I want to achieve. I don't want the Grisham fans and the whatever, people, Ludlam, people to think that they should read my book. I come from the heart. I speak to the heart, and those people who are heart-centered will pick up that signal. Yeah,
it will resonate with them. I believe that. Absolutely. Yeah. Dorothea, it has been such a pleasure to speak with you. Tell me the name of the book again.
It's called When Life Has Other Plans, ... Discover the Hidden Gifts.
And where is it available?
You can type that into Amazon and it will show up. And you can also get it from my website when you're in Canada. And that would be D for Dorothea, TLC, Tender Loving Care, DTLC.ca. And then I send it out within Canada and in the States, you'll have to get it from Amazon.
And then if somebody was interested in contacting you to be for you to be their transformational coach, do they reach you that same way?
Yes, they need to, or they can get me through my email, which is lifeplans@gmail.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dorothea. All the information too will be in the podcast description. So if you're interested in connecting with Dorothea, you can definitely do that. Dorothea, thank you so much. I have just one more question. Are you working on any additional books?
It has recently shown up. Actually, yesterday, I heard that voice that said, okay, it's time. It's time for another one. So yeah, there may be another one coming out next year or so.
Well, good. So when you get it done, then I expect you to come back and share it with us.
I definitely will. Thank you for this opportunity, Kelly.
Well, thank you so much. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of BHP Book Club. I have been your host, Kelly Morgan. I just wrapped up with author Dorothea L Gordon on her book, When Life Has Other Plans, Discover the Hidden Gifts. It's available on Amazon. You can also reach her on her website. All the information is in the podcast description. If you are an author and you are interested in being a member of the book club and promoting your book, we would love to have you. Please, by all means, join us. All you have to do is go to my website, brightheadedpublishing.com, go to the contact section, drop me a note, and you could be the next person promoting their book on the podcast. And you could be the newest member of our book club, which is forever growing. I'm so happy that you are listening. Thank you so much for being with me here today and spending time. I truly appreciate it. I couldn't do it without you. Next week, we'll have another author. But until then, keep writing.